an overview and research scope in FDM. So all of you are aware about additive manufacturing. So in this lecture, we will discuss about some basics of additive manufacturing. What are the different stages? What are the different steps to be followed in additive manufacturing? Then different types of additive manufacturing techniques. What are their benefits? What are the different materials that can be used in different techniques of additive manufacturing? Then we'll discuss in detail about the research trends in FDM and what can be the future scope in fused deposition modeling, which is most widely used technique of additive manufacturing. So in the past, product life was long and hence it could take long to design. But nowadays, product life has become very short. Why? Because nowadays customers have become very much sophisticated. Every day we want new and new types of models of every product. You can take example of your mobile phone. In earlier days, we were having very less number of models of mobile phone, very less number of companies were involved in this business. But nowadays, every day we are watching new and new models in the market. Therefore, it has become essential for the companies to reduce the manufacturing lead time of their products, and they are compelled to adopt new and new technologies so that this manufacturing lead time can be shortened. So less time is available for product development, prototype production, and waste prevention. And to reduce this manufacturing lead time, this additive manufacturing has a great role. Okay, because in additive manufacturing, material, that complete product is fabricated layer by layer and in one step only. One step in the sense that if you are able to make a 3D CAD model of a product, then you can easily manufacture that product by using some suitable technique of additive manufacturing. So manufacturing time is drastically reduced by this AM. So what is the additive manufacturing? AM means construction of physical objects directly from 3D CAD data, layer upon layer. Yes, so the only requirement is that we need a 3D CAD model. Then if you are able to make a 3D CAD model, then that product can be fabricated by using additive manufacturing technique. As opposed to subtractive manufacturing like milling, turning, etc. In these techniques, we remove the material, extra material from a starting workpiece to make the final product. Okay, so obviously there is a wastage of material and these are not environmental friendly, but in additive manufacturing there is no wastage of material, almost negligible you can say, and this final product is fabricated by adding layer upon layer. So principle of additive manufacturing is that to stack two-dimensional layers to form three-dimensional objects. Okay, and you know that producing 2D layer is relatively simple. You can see in this figure that how to fabricate single layer, then next layer is stacked on the previous layer, and layer upon layer the final product is manufactured. Okay, so it is the technique of fabrication of 3D object by stacking 2D layers one upon each other. Now, sometimes we call it is this rapid prototyping, sometimes we call it as additive manufacturing, and sometimes we call it 3D printing. So do you think all these three are same or different? Actually, all these terms stand for the same thing. The only difference is that if you are talking about the rapid prototyping, then we are talking about the early age application of this technology. when it was coming to existence in mid-80s, around 1985. At that time, this technology was just as an application to do prototyping. Means at that time, the main application of this technique was to prepare prototypes. But after few advancement in this technology, then it was observed that this technique can also be used for actual manufacturing. But still this technology was very costly and not affordable to small scale and medium scale industries. Only few large scale industries could afford it. And that's what the reason it was called additive manufacturing. Additive manufacturing because here the final product is fabricated through the addition of layer upon layer. So this was the picture till the end of 20th century. Then the third stage, in the third stage, when technology becomes economical and affordable to common people, when people can keep the technology on their desk, and then new terms come into existence, that is 3D printing. Okay, it is similar to that. Earlier we say desktop, okay, then laptop, okay, and now your laptop, all the work of your laptop can be done in your mobile phone. Okay, similarly, additive manufacturing earlier days when this technology was very costly and main application of this technology was only to prepare the prototype. At that time, it was called rapid prototyping. Okay, thereafter, after 1990s, when this techniques was become affordable to some large scale industries and it can be, it was usable for fabrication of real products, then it was called additive manufacturing. But nowadays it has become very much affordable. You can procure a simple FDM printer within 1 lakh rupees, or you can say a local printer also available within 50,000 rupees. So nowadays this technique is very much affordable and it can also be used to fabricate real parts. That's why now it is called 3D printing. Although all these terms are same. So now I will show you the timeline of this 3D printing, how this 3D printing was evolved.
What's almost 40 years old but looks brand new? Believe it or not, it's 3D printing. It all began in 1981 with a man named Hideo Kodama. Kodama's vision for a functional rapid prototyping system kickstarted a revolution. It paved the way for a solid printed model that could be built in layers, and Charles Holt's invention of stereolithography, which let designers create 3D models using digital data. The secret? An acrylic-based material known as photopolymer that turned to plastic under a laser beam and allowed inventors to prototype their designs without the costs. In 1992, Holt debuted his stereolithographic apparatus. While it was still only achievable on an industrial scale, its potential was undeniable. In 1999, the first 3D printed organ was implanted in humans, and incredible medical advancements followed. In 2005, the RepRap project launched a 3D printer known as Darwin, which could build itself and print its own parts. Suddenly, people everywhere had the power to create anything, and mass customization flourished. Startups began to thrive. Objet built a machine that could print in multiple materials at once. Today, 3D printers are cheaper than ever, and their accuracy has improved. The ability to 3D print nearly anything is becoming a reality. It begs the question, what will the future bring? 2017 brought the first 3D printed ship propeller. Objects can be created the width of a human hair, and NASA's zero-gravity 3D printer creates everything from food to rocket parts. So, only time will tell. But one thing's for certain, 3D printing is just getting started.
So 3D printing, you can see the timeline. First 3D rapid prototyping was started by Charles Hull, who was the co-founder of 3D System in USA. So in 1986, he launched one 3D that rapid prototyping technique that was called stereolithography. Okay, so at that time it was used only for preparing the prototypes of polymer polymer and plastic materials. Thereafter, around 1994, rapid casting, then 95, rapid tooling, then around 2001, this this technique was started to use in fabrication of automotive components, then aerospace components, then medical components. Okay, and nowadays you can see that this technique is widely used in biomedical, for fabrication of biomedical implants. Okay, and in coming days, by 2030, this technique may be used for making full body organs. Okay, so this technique can fabricate all types of parts, starting from a thin human hair to the aerospace. In aerospace sector, it has large number of applications. So in additive manufacturing, what you see is what you build. Okay, whatever you can see, that can, if you are able to convert it into 3D CAD data, so that can be fabricated by using a suitable technique of additive manufacturing. Regardless of the complexity of the parts to be built, building with an AM machine is generally performed in a single step. Okay, no matter that your part is simple or complex geometry, every types of complexity can be handled by the additive manufacturing. Weight reduction. In weight reduction also, this technique is widely used. Okay, I will show you one project of this, how to reduce the weight of seat belts which are used in aeroplanes. Okay, so how this weight of parts can be reduced by using a AM technique. Customized part. All types of customization can be done by using additive manufacturing technique. Highly customized parts can be fabricated. And this is widely used in manufacturing of medical products. And future of additive manufacturing is home manufacturing. Home manufacturing means in coming days, it may be possible that the price of this printer, FDM printer, may be very less. Okay, nowadays, if you search on the Amazon, then you can easily find that within 15,000 rupees, FDM printers are available. Okay, so it may be possible that in coming days, it may your FDM printer may become your home appliance. Okay, and you can fabricate any type of your day-to-day usable part, like your toothbrush, okay, your comb, okay, any type of plastic, polymer material, polymer parts can be fabricated easily. The only condition is that you should have 3D CAD model of that part. So you can see this weight reduction, that this was the traditional design of a seat belt, and that is a conventional steel buckle, weighs around 155 gram. Then its weight was reduced through a project by these companies, Plunkett Associates, Crucible Industrial Design, US 3T PRD, Simpleware, Delcam, University of Exeter. Then they used this material, titanium material, and the design was changed. You can see that instead of using the solid part, this type of design was used. But the strength, they didn't compromise with the strength. So for an Airbus 380 with all economy seating, around 853 seats, this would mean a reduction of 72.5 kg. Okay, and if you calculate this reduction in weight in terms of fuel saving, then throughout the life of the plane, around 45,000 liter per kg can be saved. Okay, so this is the very large amount of saving that was done by using this 3D printing technique. And complexity, actually in additive manufacturing, you will get the complexity for free. Okay, because when you can see from this graph, then when complexity increases, then in conventional manufacturing, cost of that product increases linearly, you can see. Okay, but in case of additive manufacturing, the cost remains same with the increase in complexity. because the cost involved is only the cost of raw material and the cost of setting the machine, purchasing the machine. And if you are able to make the 3D model of any type of part, whether it is simple or complex, you will get the same cost. Okay, that depends on its how much raw material is used. That is raw material cost. Okay, so here in additive manufacturing, complexity you will get freely. So additive manufacturing is widely used for fabrication of customized medical products. Okay, you can take example of dental crowns and bridges. So additive manufacturing holds a large share of the dental crowns and bridges. Geometry is scanned and processed via CAD/CAM. More than 30 million crowns, copings and bridges have already been made on AM machines over the last 6 years. And experts estimate that more than 10,000 copings are produced every day using additive manufacturing. Okay, so one AM machine produces up to 450 crowns per day, while a dental technician can make around 40. While when it is made by using conventional technique, then only 40 crowns can be made by one dental technician, and that dental technician should be highly skilled. While in case of additive manufacturing, no such skill technician is required, and one machine can fabricate 400 crowns per day. Similarly, you can take example of implants. Okay, implants are highly customized, so these can be fabricated by using additive manufacturing technique. And as I told you that this is the future of additive manufacturing, that is home manufacturing. In coming days, it may be possible that this 3D printer may become your home appliance, just like your refrigerator, washing machine, AC. And you can fabricate any type of plastic part, polymeric part. You can take example here, old toothbrush. If in the morning you will find you are not able to find your toothbrush, then immediately within few minutes you can fabricate this toothbrush by using this 3D printer. Okay, at present it is time-taking process, means it may take 3-4 hours. But with the advancement in technology in future, it may be possible that you can fabricate your personal used items within few minutes. Okay, so this is the future of additive manufacturing. So what are the differences in additive and subtractive manufacturing in terms of part complexity, material, speed, part quantity, and cost? Okay, as I told you that part complexity is freely available in case of additive manufacturing. In conventional manufacturing technique, when part complexity increases, its cost increases, time taken increases, as well as you will need a skilled technician to design and manufacture that a complex part. But in case of additive manufacturing, cost doesn't depend on the complexity of the part. If you are able to model that part, then you can easily fabricate that part by using additive manufacturing. Material, although nowadays there are limited number of materials that can be used in additive manufacturing, but this is the evolving technology. New and new research is being done in this domain. Therefore, in coming days, it may be possible that all types of materials can be handled by this additive manufacturing. Speed, although you can say that 3D printer takes some more time as compared to your CNC machine or other conventional machining technology. But if you compare the complete manufacturing cycle means in CNC machining, first of all, you need to design the part, you need to prepare the root sheet. Okay, you need to decide that what processes will be required, you need to arrange the cutting tools, you need to decide the values of machining parameters, then you will start the machine. Okay, then again you will check the quality of that product. Okay, so number of steps are involved. But in case of 3D printing, if you are able to prepare a 3D CAD model, then you can do this, you can fabricate that part in one step only. Okay, so overall manufacturing time is very less as compared to other conventional manufacturing technology. part quantity. Although this 3D printing or additive manufacturing is not used for mass production, it is mainly for fabrication of highly customized part. Okay, but in the future it may be possible that with the advancement in technology, this technique can also be used for fabrication of at the mass level. And cost. In additive manufacturing, cost of the part involves the cost of the raw material and the cost of machine. Okay, while in case of any other conventional manufacturing technology, cost involve the design cost, then there are number of steps. Okay, so cost of the part, although you can say that because it is not used for mass production, therefore cost of the part is somewhat higher as compared to conventional manufacturing technologies which are used for making parts at mass level. Okay, but in the future it may be possible that this technique can be used for mass production and the cost of the parts may be comparable to the conventional manufacturing technologies. So here the main point is that there are less number of resources are required to manufacture a part. Okay, you need a only some that CAD software through which you can make a 3D CAD model of that part. Then you will need some software for making for doing the tessellation, means making the layer, then to prepare the G-code file, and then that file is transferred directly to the machine. Okay, so less number of resources are required here, but in case of conventional manufacturing technology, large number of resources are required and less wastage of material, although you can say that here there is a negligible amount of wastage in case of additive manufacturing as compared to conventional manufacturing process. And semi-skilled manpower is required in case of additive manufacturing. While in case of CNC machining, it requires careful planning and sequential approach that may also require design and construction of work holding devices before the part itself can be made. You need cutting tools, you need work holding devices, you need jigs and fixtures. Okay, so large number of resources are required in CNC machining as compared to this additive manufacturing technique. So you can see this part, and this is the cup. Okay, here this cup, it is very difficult to manufacture this cup by using a CNC machine, because here you can see the cavity here may be too deep to machine. The undercut here cannot be performed without more than 3-axis machine. You may need 5-axis or 7-axis machine. Base cannot be machined since machine must hold using a fixture. You need to design a fixture to hold this type of part. And there are sharp internal features that cannot be machined without a tool radius. Okay, so it is difficult to manufacture such type of part by using a CNC machine. Okay, but it can be easily fabricated by using a 3D printing technique. So here this slide shows generic AM process, means what are the different steps that are generally followed in every type of additive manufacturing. You can see first one is CAD model. You need to prepare the CAD model of a part. Then that CAD model is to be converted into STL file. Okay, means that STL file is generated from this CAD model. Then file transfer to the machine. Then you need to set up some machine parameters, some parameters for processing further. Then you need to give the command to the machine. Then machine will start and fabricate that part layer by layer. And you need to remove that part from the machine table. Then you need to post-process it. Some post-processing techniques may be required to give further finish or to improve its mechanical properties. Okay, so then finally you can use this type of part. Okay, it is just an example by taking this type of part, although all these steps are same for every types of additive manufacturing technique, but some steps are vital and some steps are not so important in some techniques. So what is the effect of building using different layer thickness? You can see this figure that if you reduce the layer thickness, if layer thickness is minimum, in that case you will get excellent surface finish, good surface finish. But that fabrication time will also increase. And if you will use high layer thickness, more layer thickness, in that case you can fabricate the part in lesser time, but that surface finish of the part will be not so good. So these additive manufacturing techniques are classified into 7 categories. First one is wet photopolymerization, then material jetting, then binder jetting. Fourth one is material extrusion. Fifth one is powder bed fusion, then sheet lamination, and seventh one is directed energy deposition. So we will discuss each technique one by one. So first one is wet photopolymerization. Actually, the photopolymer or light activity resin is a polymer that changes its properties when exposed to light, often in the ultraviolet or visible range of the electromagnetic spectrum. These photopolymers were developed in around 1960s and then started to use in coating and printing industries. Thereafter, in 1986, Charles Hull, who was the co-founder of 3D System in USA, launched a machine which was called stereolithography based on this principle of photopolymerization. This stereolithography or SLA is an additive manufacturing process which employs a wet of liquid ultraviolet curable photopolymer resin and an ultraviolet laser to build parts layer by layer.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here for each layer, the laser beam traces a cross section of the part pattern on the surface of the liquid resin. You can see in this figure that laser is focused on the layer of the resin. Okay, and then this laser cures that layer of the resin, and as per the STL file of that part, this laser will generate a pattern of that on that resin layer. Okay, so after curing of one layer, single layer, then SLA elevator platform descends by a distance equal to thickness of one layer. This thickness is very less, typically 0.05 millimeter to 0.15 millimeter. Okay, so after curing of one layer, then the platform descends equal to one layer thickness, and then that sweeper plate will spread the next layer on the previous layer. Next, spread the layer of resin on the previous layer, and then again this laser will scan that resin layer as per the STL file. Okay, so in this manner that complete part is fabricated layer upon layer. So this wet photopolymerization process uses plastics and polymers. Polymers here are ultraviolet curable photopolymer resin. So you can see this video, then it will be more clear to you.
The Form 1 Plus is a stereolithography 3D printer. Today, we're going to take a look at how it works and put it to the test against parts from an extrusion-based machine. Let's start by taking a closer look at the printer. When we open up the light-blocking cover, we can see a build platform inside. This metal plate is where the parts are made. Underneath the build platform is a resin tank. This clear window gives the ultraviolet laser a path to cure the resin. To start a print, we'll upload a file and fill up the resin tank to the indicator line. You can see the laser passing back and forth inside, hardening the liquid plastic. We'll take our printout and wash it in rubbing alcohol to get the excess resin off. The flower comes with supports on it, and we'll snip them off to finish the piece. Stereolithography is known for producing extreme detail with layers down to 4 times finer than a human hair. The Form 1 Plus lets us take advantage of a library of materials, so we made some other parts to show what these resins can do. A castable resin gives jewelers and engineers an inexpensive way to produce metal parts. This flexible resin is great for simulating different textures, and as we can see, this tough resin can really take a hit. Now let's compare how the Form 1 Plus parts stand up against a filament printer. The stereolithography part comes out nice and smooth, but we can see and feel the ridges on the cup printed with filament. When we break this sample piece, you can see that filament parts quickly snap along the layer lines. The SLA process creates a chemical bond, so our prints take much more force. Today, we took a look at how stereolithography printers work, the types of resins they can print with, and what makes the parts stand out against other desktop machines. If you liked our intro to stereolithography 3D printing, check out some of our other videos. If there are more subjects you'd like to see us cover, please let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Next technique is material jetting. Material jetting is an additive manufacturing process that operates in a similar fashion like your 2D printing, 2D printers. In material jetting, a print head, similar to the print head used for a standard inkjet printer, dispenses droplets of a photosensitive material that solidifies under ultraviolet light, building a part layer by layer. You can see in this figure that these are the nozzles. One is for support material, another one is for build material. Okay, so that these nozzles dispenses droplets of a photosensitive material, okay, on the table of that machine, and then this material solidifies under ultraviolet light. So part is built layer by layer, similar to the previous technique. Here the material used in metal jetting are thermoset polymers, acrylics that come in liquid form. Now first of all, this liquid resin is heated to 30 to 60 degrees to achieve optimal viscosity for printing. Then the print head travels across the build platform, and hundreds of teeny droplets of photopolymers are jetted or deposited to the desired locations. Then ultraviolet laser source is attached to this printer head, and then it will scan that droplet, and droplets will be cured by using this ultraviolet rays. So here the materials used are polymers and plastics. Polymers, polypropylene, high density polyethylene, that is methyl acrylate, that is PMMA, PC, ABS. All these type of materials are used in this material jetting technique. So you can see this video.
PolyJet is a 3D printing method that makes beautiful, precise models in a huge variety of materials and colors. It works like an inkjet printer, but instead of jetting drops of ink, PolyJet 3D printers jet tiny droplets of liquid plastic. A UV light instantly cures the plastic, solidifying it. And so, layer by layer, complex models take shape. The most advanced PolyJet systems can build multi-material parts, soft, rigid, clear, and colorful. You can even adjust material properties like heat resistance and durability. The same technology that makes gorgeous prototypes also makes precise manufacturing tools. Designers can predict future needs and serve them now. Manufacturers deliver better products faster and with less waste. Researchers have new methods of saving lives. PolyJet is reshaping industries like film, fashion, and medicine. It's helping people with great ideas improve the future. What's next?
The next one is binder jetting. Sometimes it is also called colored jet printing. This type of technique is mainly used for metal, sand, and ceramics that come in powder form. Here, this binder is selectively deposited onto the powder bed, bonding these areas together to form a solid part one layer at a time. Okay, you can see in this figure that the binder that is stored in this liquid adhesive tank, it is deposited on the powder bed. Now this powder may be made of metal, may be made of ceramic, or maybe any other material. This powder, this adhesive is deposited on that powder, and then after solidification, all the particles of the powder are attached with each other, joined with each other, and then one layer is formed. Then after that, after forming of one layer, then its bed, its table descends by one layer, and then next layer of powder is spread by using this powder spreading roller. One next layer is spreaded on this table, and then again that adhesive is deposited on that powder as per the STL file of that your 3D CAD model. Okay, so here either we can use powder spreading roller, or sometimes we use recoating blade to spread the thin layer of powder over the build platform. So the size of each drop, this size of each drop of the adhesive is very small. It may be 80 micron in diameter, so that we can get good resolution. When the one layer is complete, the build platform moves downward and the blade recoats the surface. This process then repeats until the whole part is completed. Then after printing, the part is encapsulated in the powder bed and left to cure and gain strength. Actually, some type of post-processing technique may also be required in this case, because to improve the mechanical properties or to get the good surface finish, we need to go further for post-processing techniques. Sometimes it is also called color jet printing. Why? Because in this case, you can use color adhesives. Okay, so in that case, there will be colored adhesive. So there will be one core and one binder. Core material is the powder material which is spread on the build platform, and binder is that adhesive. It can be of some color. Okay, so this technique is usable for all types of materials which are available in powder form. So you can see the video of this technology.
Binder jetting additive manufacturing is a process inspired by the technology of inkjet printers. In this process, a liquid binder is selectively deposited on a powder bed with a print head. It is a growing process that allows the production of parts for the manufacturing, medical, and dental industries. This technique enables the production of metallic and ceramic parts, as well as sand molds for castings. To start the process, a 3D drawing is imported into the printer software. The powder to be used is placed in a dispenser, which ensures a constant supply during printing. First, a powder layer of a specific thickness is spread. Thereafter, the printing head, moving on 2 axes, projects the binder where necessary. Before moving on to the next layer, the solvent contained in the binder is evaporated by an incandescent lamp. The powder bed is then lowered and a new powder layer is deposited. Therefore, the production takes place in a series of steps that build the part layer by layer. When the cycle is completed, The binder is cured by placing the container in a furnace. The temperature and time depend on the type of binder employed during printing. After this step, unbound particles are removed to reveal the part or the mold. After this step, the sand molds are ready to be used in foundries. The metal and ceramic parts must undergo sintering, infiltration, heat treatment, or hot isostatic pressing before being used.
Now next is material extrusion or fused deposition modeling, or it is also called fused filament fabrication. This technique is most widely used and it is very cheaply available. This machine is available at very cheap price, maybe within 15,000-20,000. This FDM printer is available. So in this this technique is used for thermoplastic polymer materials that come in filament form. Okay, here you can see in this figure that material is supplied in form of filament. Okay, and there is one extruder. In this extruder, there is a heating mechanism which heats this filament, and then this heated material comes out through this nozzle of this extruder and deposited on the build platform of that machine in layer by layer. Okay, as per the STL file of that 3D CAD model of that product. So here the main thing is that material should be available in filament form, and that material is melted, and then melted material is molten material is extruded through the nozzle of extruder and deposited on the build platform. So after making one layer, then either the build platform is moves downward equal to one layer thickness, or that extruder moves upward equal to one layer thickness. So here these layers are fused together upon deposition as the material is in melted state. After solidification of this material, that you will get solidified layer, and then layer by layer the complete 3D part is fabricated. So here all types of thermoplastic polymeric materials can be used, like ABS, that is acrylonitrile butadiene and styrene. This material is widely used in this FDM printer. It is good in strength and good in temperature resistance. And PLA material, that is polylactic acid. It has excellent visual quality and easy to print. And nylon also, in some printer nylon can also be printed. And another one is thermoplastic polyurethane, that is TPU material, that is very flexible material that can also be printed by using this FDM printer.
Fused deposition modeling. FDM is utilized in a number of industries, including aerospace, automotive, industrial, commercial, and medical.
The next technique is powder bed fusion. It is also known by various names like DMLS, that is direct metal laser sintering, EBM, electron beam melting, SLS, that is SHS, selective heat sintering, SLS, SLM, selective laser melting, and SLS, selective laser sintering. Depending upon the source of heat, this technique is known by different names. So in this powder bed fusion technique, it uses either a laser or electron beam to melt and fuse material powder together. It is mainly used for metallic powders. Electron beam melting method requires a vacuum, but can be used with metals and alloys in the creation of functional parts. So in all types of this powder bed fusion processes, mechanism is almost same. The only difference is that source of heat. for sintering or for melting the powder. Here you can see that there is a powder stock, powder tank, there is a powder roller, and there is a sweeping blade, okay, which sweeps the powder on the build platform of the machine. And then there is a heat source. It may be electron beam, it may be laser beam, okay, for sintering or for melting this powder. As per the not complete powder, but it melts or sinter the powder as per the pattern that depends on the STL file of that part. So after sintering or melting, that powder particles will join with each other and will make a solid layer. Then after making one layer, this build platform will move downward equal to one layer thickness, and then next layer will be spread, next layer of powder will be spread on the previous layer on the build platform. Then again this laser source or electron beam will scan that build platform, and it will sinter or melt the powder with a selected area. It will scan the pattern as per the STL file. Okay, so in this manner, this layer by layer, the complete part is fabricated. So here the thickness is very small. Layer thickness is very small, generally 0.1 millimeter. Now selective laser melting as compared to SLS is faster, but require the use of inert gas, has higher energy cost and typically has a poor efficiency of 10 to 20%, because in case of metallic powder, when we use SLM technique, selective laser melting technique, we need to prevent that metal powder from the environment. Otherwise oxidation or carbonization of that powder may occur. So for that we need to use inert gases. So the powder bed fusion uses any powder based material, but most commonly used materials are like for DMLS, SLS, SLM, we generally use stainless steel, titanium, aluminum, cobalt, chrome, steel. And for electro beam melting, we use titanium, cobalt, chrome, aluminum, and copper. So you can see how this technique is performed. So all types of complex metallic parts can be fabricated by using this selective laser melting technique. Next one is sheet lamination. It is also called ultrasonic additive manufacturing or laminated object manufacturing. Ultrasonic additive manufacturing, as its name suggests, that here we use ultrasonic welding to join layers of sheet metal. It is mainly used for ultrasonic additive manufacturing, is mainly used for sheet metal. So it uses sheets or ribbons of metal which are bonded together with ultrasonic welding. So this process may require some types of CNC machining also after joining all the layers of the sheet metal. To get the final shape, we need to cut these layers, and for that sometimes we need this CNC machining also as a post-processing technique. This laminated object manufacturing, this is mainly used for paper or cardboard sheets. Okay, for making any types of aesthetic or visual models. Okay, but it is not suitable for structural use because the strength is not so good. Here we use some type of adhesive. Instead of any ultrasonic welding, we use some type of adhesives.
Ultrasonic welding, or the ultrasonic additive manufacturing, is an additive manufacturing process wherein thin metal strips are welded in solid state on each other using ultrasounds. To start the fabrication, the shape is programmed into the CNC machine. The strips are juxtaposed with a certain overlap, ensuring a fully dense part. The vibrations induced by ultrasound permit mechanical anchoring of the lamellae on the substrate. Thereafter, the lamellae are stacked layer by layer. The type of materials can even be changed during manufacturing to impart special properties to the finished part. The process can also weld incompatible materials because no liquid phase is formed during welding. After the welding, machining is performed to obtain the final part.
And last one is direct energy deposition, or it is also called LENS, that is laser engineered net shaping process. It is mainly used to repair or add additional material to the existing parts. So this machine consists of a nozzle mounted on a multi-axis machine which deposits melted material onto the specified surface where it solidifies. This process is similar in principle to material extrusion, but the nozzle can move in multiple directions. It is not fixed to a specific axis. So for this we need 4 or 5 axis machine on which this nozzle is mounted, and this nozzle supplies the material in form of powder or in form of wire, and then this electron beam acts as a heat source which melt this material, and after solidification we get the solidified layer on the existing component. So this type of technique is mainly used to repair an existing component or to add some extra material on the existing component. So this table gives the comparison of different techniques in terms of state of starting material, typical materials, advantages and disadvantages. You can see this wet photopolymerization technique is mainly used for plastic and polymers. That is ultraviolet curable photopolymer resins. Parts are having high accuracy, finish of the part is also good, but there are limited number of materials, but it is relatively and it is also relatively expensive. Material jetting techniques is also used for polymer and plastics like polypropylene, SDP, PS, PMMA, PC, ABS, multi-material capabilities and high accuracy, but low elongation at break, high cost. Okay, so you can see advantage and disadvantage of all these techniques. For powder bed fusion, powder metal polymers, nylon, DMLS, titanium, cobalt, chrome, aluminum, and copper is relatively inexpensive, large range, but size limitation, high power uses. Sheet lamination technique can deal with only paper, plastic, and sheet metal. It has low cost, good strength, but limited material used. Directed energy deposition is mainly used for filament type of material, thermoplastics such as PC, ABS, PLA, nylon, cobalt. So it is mainly used for repairing work. It has low cost and that part has high strength, but there is an anisotropy and nozzle clogging problems are there. Now, what are the applications of this additive manufacturing? You can see from this graph that most of the applications are in automotive domain, that is for motor vehicles, then around 19% in fabrication of consumer products, then business machines around 11%, medical field around 9%, for in academic institutions around 9%, aerospace industries around 8%. Okay, so this figure shows that various domains of application of this additive manufacturing worldwide. So here this is one example of this 3D printed aircraft engine, ATP aircraft engine. Okay, so 1/3 of the ATP engine parts are crafted by using 3D printer. By 3D printing, the component, the ATP engine has 30% fewer parts compared to conventional turboprop engine. Okay, because this aircraft engine has an assembled product, large number of parts are there. Okay, so in conventional manufacturing, we need to manufacture all these parts separately and then we need to assemble these parts. Okay, but in case of by using 3D printing technique, assembled parts, number of parts are reduced by 30%. And more power and increased fuel efficiency. It was observed that this type of 3D printed engine has more power and increased fuel efficiency. US Navy and Army recruit 3D printer. You know that in naval ships, sometimes some inventory may be required for maintenance purpose. Okay, and it is not possible to keep all types of inventory all types of spare components at the ship. Therefore, they now these US Navy and Army uses 3D printers. Okay, they keep the 3D CAD model of all the inventory parts, and whenever there is a requirement, that type of part can be fabricated easily by using 3D printer. 3D printed bike handles, straight disabled athlete to Paralympic World Cup. You can see that this type of handle, highly customized handle, is required for disabled person, and this can be easily printed by using a 3D printer. Neutrogena to launch personalized 3D printer face mask. Face masks are highly customized product. Okay, so this type of customized product can be fabricated by using 3D printer. 3D printing in construction of architecture and the built-in environment. 3D housing. Okay, nowadays in China, 3D houses are also being printed. Okay, one BHK can be printed within 24 hours. Okay, low cost houses can be easily printed by using large size 3D printers. Okay, now at IIT Madras also one printer was developed to fabricate this type of low cost housing, and countless others. You can see all these are the applications of 3D printer, 3D printing technology. All types of complex parts can be easily printed. Okay, mass customized parts can be easily printed. You can see integrated assembly, even drone can be fabricated by using a 3D printer. Okay, so all types of integrated assembled product can be fabricated. Okay, redesign product can be fabricated by using the reverse engineering approach. So here I will show you one 3D printed house project.
Modern technology, APIsCore 3D printing. The walls of this house were printed entirely on site. This is the world's first actually printed house. With the advent of APIsCore technology, construction 3D printing opens a new round of evolution thanks to the innovative design of the printer. APIsCore technology consists of a mobile construction 3D printer and automatic mix and supply unit, which combine to make the construction printing process as much automated as possible and almost eliminate the human factor. This equipment is unique and has no analogs in the world today. APIsCore is compact dimensions, high printing speed, ease of transport, and maximum automation of the system. Commissioning on site takes no more than an hour. With so many advantages, the 3D printing technology easily accounted for competition with traditional methods of construction. The testing was successful, and the technology is ready for mass use. Time of printing amounted to 24 hours. Soon, using new materials such as geopolymer concrete, houses could be printed in both summer and winter. In the printing process, we used horizontal fiberglass reinforcements for the walls. The quality of the printed wall surface allows to perform final finishing immediately, which significantly reduces the cost of finishing works. The roof of the printed house, in accordance with the architectural project, is flat. Such a roof can effectively withstand high snow loads and durability requirements. Its cost is comparable with steep roofs, which are common for our country. APIsCore construction 3D printing technology adapted for different methods of printed walls thermal insulation. This project used loose dry insulating material on one part of the house and polyurethane filler composition on the other. Technology does not require fixtures and fills all voids in the space between the bearing wall and the outer concrete structure, avoids the formation of cold bridges. On the inside, the printed house is no different from a regular concrete house. It is also comfortable and reliable. The house interior includes a hall, a bathroom, a living room, and a compact functional kitchen with the most modern appliances. The house size is 38 square meters. Construction costs amounted to $10,134, which corresponds to approximately $275 per square meter. And this, in view of the shape complexity of the building. Prices include all works and materials for the construction of foundation, roof, exterior and interior finishing works, installation of heat insulation of walls, windows, floors, and ceilings. A regular square house made using materials of an average price category would cost about $223 per square meter. The use of APIsCore construction 3D printer allows to save up to 70% on erecting buildings boxes compared to traditional material and labor-intensive construction methods. The APIsCore company and its partners are confident
and further reducing cost to the consumer.
So in coming years, I will not be surprised if I will see that this 3D printers will have a major role in construction industry. In China, this work has already been started. All types of low-cost housings are being manufactured by using these 3D printers. And very soon, maybe after 10 years, it may be possible in our country also. Because not only the cost of that house is drastically reduced, but time taken in the complete construction is also reduced. Okay, within 24 hours, that one room house can be fabricated. Okay, so we can say that this 3D printing is not only having applications in manufacturing sector, but also in other domains of engineering. So as I discussed with you that there are 8 steps in additive manufacturing. So I'm not going in detail about all these steps. You can refer any additive manufacturing book. Okay, you will find all these steps, detail about all these steps. First one is conceptualization and CAD. Means you need some types of CAD software to prepare the CAD model, 3D CAD model of the part which you want to fabricate. Then that part CAD model is to be converted into STL file. That tessellation is required to be done. That complete part is to be converted into layers, and then some type of geometrical shapes like triangles, squares, circles. Okay, then STL file is generated. Nowadays, in place of STL file, some machines are also using EMF file format, because in this STL file there is a problem that there are no units, color, material or other feature information. So these limitations of an STL file have led to the recent adoption of a new EMF file format. Now this there may be some error in this STL file, and then now that is checked by using some software like Magic software. Okay, it is the proprietary software of Belgian company Materialize. This software is used to check the error in STL file data. Then transfer of the STL file to AM machine and STL file manipulation. This is the next step. Then machine setup. You need to set up some parameters of that machine like layer thickness. Then build command is given to the machine, and then you need to remove that part and clean up that part. It may be some type of chemical cleaning to improve the surface finish. You need to remove the support materials from that part by using some machining technique like EDM, band saw, or some milling technique is required. Then in some cases post-processing is required to improve the mechanical properties, like some type of heat treatment process, some finishing technique, polishing, some type of post-processing may be required. That depends on the final application of that part. Then you can use that part in your required application. Now broadly, these additive manufacturing systems are classified into liquid-based, solid-based or powder-based. A liquid-based additive manufacturing system in which that raw material is in liquid form, like your stereolithography, polyjet, multijet, solid object, ultraviolet laser printer, rapid freeze prototyping. And then solid based, like where raw material is in form of wire or maybe in form of powder, like fuse deposition modeling, selective deposition lamination, laminated object manufacturing, ultrasonic additive manufacturing. Powder based additive manufacturing system where building material is powder, like grain like form. All powder based EM system employ the joining or binding method like SLS, CJP, LANS, EBM. So we will discuss this extrusion based additive manufacturing technique, which is most widely used. Its another name is fuse deposition modeling or FFF technique. So it is the most popular in the market. Whilst there are other techniques for creating the extrusion, heat is normally used to melt bulk material in a small portable chamber, that is extrusion. that is extruder. In extruder, there is a mechanism of heating that feedstock material. The material is pushed through by a tractor feed system which creates the pressure to extrude. Material extrusion technologies can be visualized as similar to cake icing, in that material contained in a reservoir is forced out through a nozzle when pressure is applied. It is similar to cake icing technique. If the pressure remains constant, then the resulting extruded material, which is commonly known as rod, will flow at a constant rate and will remain at a constant cross-sectional diameter. Okay, that's why we use a very small diameter nozzle through which that material is extruded. That material extruded at a constant rate as well as with constant cross section. So you will get the final cross section, uniform cross section throughout the rod. Since material is extruded, the AM machine must be capable of scanning in a horizontal plane as well as starting and stopping the flow of material while scanning. Okay, so your machine should have mechanism of scanning in the horizontal plane and starting and stopping the flow of material during the scanning process. Once the layer is completed, the machine must index upward or move the part downward so that the further layer can be produced. Now there are two primary approaches when using extrusion process. One is, which is most widely used, approach is to use temperature as a way of controlling the material state, because the material should be in flow state, so that it can be extruded through a nozzle. Molten material is liquefied inside a reservoir so that it can flow out through the nozzle and bond with the adjacent material before solidifying. Because that material is supplied in form of wire inside the extruder. Inside the extruder, there are heating coils which heats that raw material, and so that it can be brought into some viscous form, so that it can be extruded through the nozzle. Another approach which is not widely used, that is chemical change to cause solidification. The secondary approach can be utilized with paste material. Additionally, it may be more applicable to biochemical applications where material must have biocompatibility with living cells, and so choice of material is very restricted. So this type of chemical approach, this is used in case of materials which are to be used with living cells in medical field. So what is the basic principle of extrusion based additive manufacturing process? That these are the steps of additive manufacturing, this FDM FDM technique of additive manufacturing. One is loading of material, that how to load the material into the machine, and liquefaction of the material, how to heat that material so that it can be brought into viscous form, and application of pressure to the material through the nozzle. Some pressure mechanism is used so that that material can be extruded through the nozzle. Then nozzle mechanism, what should be the diameter of that nozzle, floating according to a predefined path and in a controlled manner. Then bonding of the material to itself for secondary build material to form a coherent solid structure. Here secondary build material means that is the material which is used for supporting, to make the supports of the main material, that main component. Then inclusion of support structure to enable complex geometrical features. So we will not go in detail about this physics based mechanism of this process. So most widely technique of this extrusion based additive manufacturing is fuse deposition modeling. It is produced and developed by Stratasys USA company. So initially it was patented by this company, and that's why the cost of this type of printer was very high. But nowadays its patent time is over, and now it can be fabricated easily at local level, and now cost is very cheap. So FDM uses a heating chamber to liquefy polymer that is fed into the system as a filament. The filament is pushed into the chamber by tractor wheel arrangement, and it is this pushing that generates the extrusion pressure. The initial FDM patent was awarded to Stratasys founder Scott Crump in 1992, and the company has gone from strength to the point where there are more FDM machines than any other AM machine type in the world. So these type of printers are most widely used. The major strength of the FDM is the range of material and the effective mechanical properties of resulting parts made using this technology. Parts made using FDM are among the strongest for any polymer-based EM process. That properties of this type of polymeric parts are also excellent as compared to other processes. So here you can see that feedstock filament is inserted inside this chamber, that is extruded chamber. Then there are heating coils which heat this filament, and then this filament comes into viscous form, and then it is extruded through the nozzle. Okay, and then this extruder will move on this platform along XY axis as per the STL file of that part, 3D CAD model data of that part. And then after making one layer, then table will move along Z axis, will move in downward direction, or there may be mechanism of moving this extruder in upward direction, but in most of the cases this table moves along Z axis. So feedstock filament is heated by heater and extruder on the base plate exactly at the coordinates provided by G-code file. Extruder moves upward by exactly one layer thickness after deposition of each layer. Then process is repeated till complete part is fabricated. So layer by layer that part is fabricated. After fabrication of one layer, extruder moves in upward direction equal to one layer thickness. Then the next layer is deposited on the previous layer. So this figure shows the complete this FDM technique. You can see that feedstock material is supplied in form of wire. Okay, so here two wires are shown, two rolls are shown. One is for build material, another one is for support material. Okay, and this is the these are the two nozzles, dual extruder. One nozzle is used for build material, and another nozzle is used for extruding the support material. Okay, so as per the G-code file of that final part, that extruder will move on the build platform and deposit the build material as well as support material in form of layers. And after completion of one layer, either the build platform will move in downward direction or extruder will move in upward direction equal to one layer thickness. So the most popular material is the ABS plus material, which can be used on all current FDM machines. Now this table shows different materials which can be used. Generally ABS, ABSI, ABS plus, ABS or PC or PLA materials are used in case of FDM machine. So what are the limitations of this FDM technique of additive manufacturing? Here the main limitation is that sharp features of corners not possible to get. Sharp features cannot be fabricated exactly with high accuracy. Part strength is weak perpendicular to build axis. Okay, part will have anisotropic properties. Okay, along XY axis it will have good mechanical properties as compared to properties along Y axis. Pore area in slices requires longer build time. It requires, if the area of that part will be large, then obviously it will require more time. Temperature fluctuation during production could lead to delamination. If there will be any temperature fluctuation, then obviously that there may be delamination of the layers of the part. So this table shows the range of process parameters. Layer thickness is generally 0.1 to 0.35 millimeter. Raster angle 0 to 90 degree. Raster width, that is 0.2 to 0.5 millimeter. Print speed 30 to 65 millimeter per second. Infill density 10 to 100%. Nozzle temperature for PLM. This nozzle temperature depends on the material feedstock material. For PLA material, this nozzle temperature ranges in the range of 190 to 200 degrees centigrade, while in case of ABS material, it is generally from 225 to 250 degrees centigrade. Now, infill pattern may be line, triangles, contour width maybe 0.2 to 0.5 millimeter. Now I will show you one video. There are 3 videos showing the complete process of this FDM.
Hello. In this video, we are going to learn the steps involved in the FDM process. First step is file transfer application. So first important step is that and build parts like this. Just make sure that you should give output in .stl file format. So save as, then save as, then file, save as, save copy as, make sure this is STL, and name that RCA or any other name. Just make sure that it is STL file format and save. After that, second step is STL conversion. That is already we have seen that file is converted in STL file format. Third, file transfer to machine. This is Altimeter Cura, the software which require for G code generation. So input that STL file, that RCA.stl here. So that part, actually you can scale this part. So there is the option of scaling here. You can make that 200, 300%, or you can make actual original size also. So this is the part. So here you can change process parameter settings. So quality is layer height, the height to which nozzle will move upward or bed will move downward to exactly the value given over here in mm. So we have given 0.3 mm. Shell, this is wall thickness. So if we see preview, and top bottom left. These are the options available in this cell. Where infill, you can keep 100%, 10%, 3% as per requirement, and there are different options for filling: grid, line, triangles, triagonals. Then material. As per material, you can set temperature for nozzle and bed. So for PLA, you can keep 210 or 200 for nozzle in degree centigrade, and for bed it is 70. For ABS, you can keep 240 nozzle temperature and 100 bed temperature. The speed, print speed in mm per second. So 40 or 100 you can take. So travel, cooling are other options. Support, you can also generate support. Wheel plate adhesion is another option. So total there are 34 layers. In 34 layers, total part will be. And you should give output in G code. There are another option also, .3mf, G code, STL, UFP, or OBJ. So make sure you select here G code and give output. So like this way, this is STL file .get the CAD modeling software generator, and this is .G code file, your software generator. Now you can take this file in a memory card or pen drive and give this input to the machine. This step So in this machine, there are two motors in Z direction. That is, movement of bed is controlled by two motors in Z direction. So there are another two motors for Y direction, here and here. There is one motor for X movement of extruder and another motor, that's motor number 6 for movement of fan. So extruder is in this location. The filament is coming from a reel and going to directly the extruder here. The G-code file that in previous video we have given output in the form of a G-code. That file is saved in memory card. So that memory card is here inserted like this. So first step is in prepare, preheat PLA, preheat PLA1. So these are temperature settings. 210 is for extruder, and 70. The coils are behind the bed also, below the bed also. So 70 degree is temperature for that, and this is the current temperature. 61 degree centigrade is current temperature of nozzle. 30 degree centigrade is current temperature of bed. So temperature is now increasing. After reaching this temperature to set level, print from SD, and this is the file that which we are going to run. So this is the file from. So temperature is now increased to 210 and bed. You can remove this extra filament. So you can see that extruder is laying first outer layer. So this is the filament only to apply ABS. That is ABS part if they are to be printed. So bed should be applied with acetone or acetone ABS mix. You can call it as acetone juice. So that part will stick exactly to the bed. So for PLA bridging, so after completion of total, you can remove this part with the help of tool. So this is PLA. If this part is of ABS, you can improve surface finish using acetone wafers. Or for PLA, you can rough a paper to improve the surface finish, and this is the total actual part. After that, make sure that you cool down the machine settings here. You prepare and bed are at the normal temperature.
So there are large number of applications of FDM in aerospace and aviation, prototyping, scaffold for medical tissue engineering applications. You can see all these are the different parts which can be fabricated by FDM printers. Now, what are the recent trends in FDM? What are the future scope of research in FDM? Okay, so in this regard, I will show you our review paper which was published in 2019. This paper was published in Rapid Prototyping Journal, which is an SCI journal. In this paper, we have reviewed published papers from 1994 to 2019, more than 26 years. So around a total 211 research papers were reviewed. And based on the review of these papers, we have listed out the what are the research gaps and how these research gaps can be filled, and what can be the roadmap of future research in this domain. You know that this all additive manufacturings are at not only are in application domain but also under research. Day by day, some research is going on in various additive manufacturing technique. So we have reviewed around 211 papers, and our review was based on these categories, that is process parameter optimization, environmental parameters, post-production finishing techniques, numerical simulation, and then recent advances in form of process improvement, new material development, machine improvement, part quality improvement. Actually, FDM printed parts are not having good, excellent surface finish, and another problem is that not having good mechanical strength, as well as these parts are anisotropic. Okay, so how the properties of these materials can be improved? Properties of printed parts can be improved by setting of optimal setting of process parameters, and how that machine can be improved so that we get the excellent results. So based on this review, we have listed research work which has been done worldwide based on the material. For ABS material, all these researchers have done some work: ABS, ABS plus, PLA, PLA plus, PC, nylon 6, ferrous composite, ABS plus iron composite. Okay, so large number of materials are being researched for this FDM printing. And summary of major research in process parameter optimization for fuse deposition modeling. Okay, so based on that response, how this response can be improved by optimizing the process parameters. Okay, they identified what are the significant parameters and what can be the optimal values of these parameters to get the maximum values of these responses. Responses are like tensile and compressive strength, compressive modulus, porosity, surface finish, flexural strength, fracture toughness, elastic constant, density, tensile strength and density, hardness, viscoelastic properties, print quality, elastic modulus, ultimate tensile strength, dimensional accuracy, build time. Okay, so all these responses are being investigated by worldwide researchers. So they have identified what are the significant parameters and what can be the optimal values of these parameters to get the maximum values of all these responses during FDM process. Then numerical simulation of fuse deposition modeling process. Then post-production finishing technique. You know that in some cases, based on the application of the final printed part, some post-production finishing techniques may be required. Okay, so these are the techniques which are researched by various researchers, like hot air, laser polishing, vapor smoothing, micro sand blasting in PVD, acetone dipping, vapor smoothing. Okay, so all these techniques are researched by these researchers, and these are their remarks. Then we have identified the scope of future research. Okay, what are the research gaps? Because the main objective of every review paper is to find the research gaps and to suggest the scope of future research, so that further research work can be done by some researchers. So here you can see that What are the research gaps? We have listed out the research gaps, that there are opportunities for further research in the part production and optimization of the process for FDM feedstock material other than ABS and PLA. Most of the research is focused on only two materials, that is ABS and PLA material. So other materials should also be investigated like PPSF, ASA, PS, PCISO, glass filled PLA, clay, silicone, resin, and elastomer. Then effect of number of contours, deposition speed, base temperature, and extrusion temperature on flexural strength of the FDM parts need further investigation. Most of the research on process optimization of FDM is restricted to linear and circular features. Taguchi-based parameter optimization can further be extended to more complicated facets such as overhangs, gradient, and curvature to have more realistic problems. And fabrication of dissimilar materials, plastic and metal, in single bed need further research, as both materials have a different melting point. Okay, this is a very this may be very good topic for research, that how can we fabricate dissimilar materials at a by using a same FDM machine at a single bed, because there will be a problem that both the material will have different melting point. So combining them as per function requirement can tackle strength and stiffness duality and solve many of the current problems incurred in different applications. For example, in automotive dashboard, head impact analysis. Fabrication of lattice structure for tissue engineering with interconnecting pores for cell growth is possible by FDM. Further research is required investigating printing characteristics of lattice structure manufactured via dynamic process parameter of the FDM process. Also, the biomechanical performance of the structure require further evaluation. Further studies required on the effect of shrinkage alloys, similar to the casting process, because here there is similarity with the casting process, that here material is melted and then extruded on the build platform. Then after solidification, you will get the solidified layer. Okay, so it is similar to casting process. So what should be the shrinkage allowance? Okay, how to calculate the shrinkage allowance? Okay, that can be one topic of research in this domain. Limited research is available in more complex analysis such as thermal, chemical, wear, shrinkage, wrappage, and dynamic stiffness, hardness, creep, production time, torsion, product cost and process cost, porosity and stress and strain performance at the high strain rate, crushing, fatigue and vibration of FDM material. So further research needs to be done in this direction. Then forecast nozzle wear equation and the effect of process parameter on nozzle wear should also be studied. Okay, because there is a problem of nozzle clogging and nozzle wear in the extruder. Okay, so how to determine this nozzle wear? Okay, how to determine the life of this nozzle? Okay, that can also be done. Then limited literature is available regarding shear stress measurement of parts made by various materials. The impact test is important in measuring the service life of the component. Then environmental factors, namely temperature and humidity, have a damaging effect on the quality of the FDM part. So determination of optimal values of temperature and humidity for FDM manufacturing of various materials needs further study. Okay, so all these are the research gaps that can be investigated further. Then what can be a roadmap for future research? Not only the research gap, but we have also suggested the roadmap for future research. So this is the roadmap. That first one is gap related with design for manufacturing. That is the phase 1. So there is a need of guidelines, framing the guidelines for design of manufacturing for FDM parts should be done. Then numerical modeling. There are 2 phases, phase 2 and phase 3. Then environmental factor, phase 4. Then research related to FDM machine. Okay, there are 4 phases. Then related to material, that is phase 9, fabrication of dissimilar material in single build, polymer metal, fiber, reinforced polymer, so as to optimize material uses in part as per desired response. Then for process optimization, there are 2 phases. process for a parameter optimization for various theories of material related to mechanical properties, and then process parameter optimization for properties such as thermal, chemical, etc. Then non-destructive evaluation, and then PPFTs. Okay, so this is the roadmap for future research to fill the research gaps. So you can refer this paper if you are interested to do further research in this domain. Okay, here we have listed out various research gaps based on the critical review of more than 200 research papers published during 1994 to 2019. So we have covered almost most of the papers in this domain. Okay, so based on the review, we have listed out the research gaps and then how these research gaps can be fulfilled. And for that, we have suggested this roadmap. So there is a large scope in this for doing research in this domain. So you can download this paper by using this link. So these are the references.